What's up, guys? It's Jonathan with One Big Impact. I just wanted to give you a little bit of a backstory on exactly what's going to be happening in this video. This next video, excuse me, is actually just going to be me talking about Edinburgh, Scotland, and a little bit about travel and kind of jumping around. But I came up with an idea while I was actually making this video, and this was a live video, so I apologize for some of the bouncing around and stuff like that, but you know that's kind of how I am. That being said, I will be starting some video series, and what I'll be doing is kind of just giving you my personal experience in which the places I go. So this one's going to be specifically about Scotland, more specifically about Edinburgh, and I'll talk a little bit about things and stuff like that. So as I go to places, I'm going to, I guess, kind of video journal in a way. I guess that's what it would be called. So that's kind of what I'm telling you about here. And it was just kind of my experience of Edinburgh, which happens to be probably number 2 on my favorites list. The first would be Switzerland. The second would be, I believe it would be Edinburgh. And then the third would probably be England, and one of the same or whatever. But those 3 places are by far my favorite. So you'll probably hear me talk a lot about those in the future. Let's go get started.
There's a place in Edinburgh, Scotland. If you ever get the chance, it is called... What's it called? It's an island. Basically, in Edinburgh, Scotland, there's this island, and it's pretty near the town center, but you have to take a bus there, or you can drive or whatever. But I didn't have a car there, so I took a bus, and I told I was in Edinburgh, and I'm like, "Where's the closest beach?" And they're like, "Well, there's no close beach." And I'm like, "Bullshit! I can look on the map, and it shows me a beach." And they're like, "Well, it's this far, blah 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 blah." And I'm like, "Okay, that's not that far." I live like 8 hours from the damn beach. Don't tell me 45 minutes is far. Like, nothing's far when you're in England. A lot of people don't realize how freaking small that place is. It's beautiful. It's one of my favorite places, but you don't understand how small it is in comparison to, like, the U.S. So if you're used to traveling around the United States, England is chump change as far as getting from place to place. And their transit system's amazing, so it's really fast. But in Edinburgh, Scotland, gosh, what is the island called? I want to remember it so bad. Anyway, I got to this little fishing village, right? I got to this little fishing village, and it's basically like just a cove, a cove with some fishing boats. And there's like a little breakfast place. I had breakfast off to the left and down the way, and you can actually see, I have some videos and stuff from there. And I want to say I took videos, and they're on, oh, that's cool. Your extras from England. I want to say I have videos on my YouTube channel for sure. They're obviously older videos. It was like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, something like that, when I did the study abroad. I stayed in England for like a month and went to college there in Nottingham, which is quite cool. Robin Hood, Nottingham. But when we went up to Edinburgh, I wandered off and did my own thing. You get to this cove, and I took videos of the waterfalls and stuff like that were there. It was just like the coolest little picturesque, like, fishing town. And like, it wasn't a touristy thing. Nobody was there for tourists. I just kind of wandered, and I'm like, hey, take me to the closest water. So it was one of those things, like off the beaten path things. It was actually just a real, fishing town. And it wasn't even necessarily towards fishing. It was just kind of like there happened to be a cove there, and it was a place where everybody parked their boats. So I walked up to this lady, and I'll never forget, she had one blue eye and one brown eye. I was like, holy shit, your eyes are fucking amazing. And she's like, thanks. And I'm like, what does this sign mean? Because it was like this sign with all this information and shit that I didn't understand necessarily, and I was kind of standing there looking at it. And she was like, well, in about an hour and a half, all the water that you can see, for as far as you can see, is going to disappear. And I'm like, bullshit. This water's not going to disappear. It's fucking everywhere. It's a whole damn ocean. And she's like, no, really. She's like, stay here or come back in about an hour and a half. And she said the time, and she looked at the time, and I guess it was like low tide or something. I didn't know shit about this. And she was like, come back at 1:30 or whatever it was. And it wasn't 1:30. It was actually fairly early in the morning. So it was like 9 or 10 or something. So I was like, all right, I'll trust the lady with 2 different color eyes. But she was super nice, so I believed her, and it made sense. So I walked off. I went and took some videos, had breakfast at the little cafe, had some coffee, went back to the cafe and had some more coffee. Took some more videos. I actually met this, I think she was a Scottish girl, and I talked to her for about an hour and what it was like living there and stuff like that, and we just chilled by the waterfall. I think she was trying to holler at me. I wasn't really digging it, so we ended up splitting ways, and I was kind of on my own little adventure. And I went back over to the water, and sure enough, I couldn't find any water. It was completely fucking gone. And here's the cool thing. The cool thing is there was, and I've got tons of pictures of it. You could probably find them on my Facebook. I'm a picture nut. As far as you could see, there's a sidewalk all the way over to an island that wasn't there before. And after the water disappeared, the island was accessible via a ginormous, like 2-mile sidewalk. It was crazy. It was just like something out of like a movie. Cremond, Island of Cremond, Cramond, Cremond, something like that. Really close. I'm close to it. So I walk over there, and all the way, there's a sidewalk right here, all the way to an island, straight ahead. Perfect straight line, right? And all along the right side of the sidewalk, there's these giant concrete like pyramids, and they're like barriers all the way down. And it's like boom, 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 and they're like giant. They're probably 20 feet tall, and you walk next to them the whole way. And after you get over Cramond, Cramond, I think that's it. And after nobody's there, like nobody really cared about it. There was a couple like people just wandering around. It looks like they were walking their dogs and stuff like that. But you walk all the way across it, and what those were, what those were was when Hitler was trying to invade different places, Scotland freaked out and said, you know what, we're going to put submarine stoppers inside the ocean to be able to protect their capital. So even if he tried to get through there, there would be no way for Hitler and his submarines and the U-boats and all that to get past him, because it was just giant pieces of concrete and rebar reinforced, and it was just a whole 2-mile wall of them. And apparently they did that around the whole island, which was really cool. And also this island had all of these old concrete structures that they had put giant gunners in and stuff to protect themselves from Hitler and stuff like that if there was some type of invasion. I don't know if an invasion ever came to flourish, but that's what it was to protect. And then furthermore, once you actually got onto the island there's like no services. So you can tell it wasn't a tourist trap because there wasn't anybody selling shit. You know, if it was a tourist trap, there would be, you know, it's a store or some shit. You know, they'd be trying to sell you shirts and all kinds of shit. There wasn't nobody there. It was completely inhospitable. And the lady told me, just make sure you come back before this time, and it said a certain time on there. It was like you only had like a 3-hour window, because once you went across, you could only stay there for so long, or else you'd be trapped because the water would come back and there's no way to get back over. And apparently a lot of people got trapped and stuff like that. But it was cool because if you watch some of the videos, and I'll have to find some and I'll try to share them on the Facebook group World Travelers, because they're really neat. As far as you can see, there's like little trails and stuff going around there. There's like hardly any. I think I ran into like 3 or 4 people, and it was like different little microclimates around this island, and it wasn't very big. It wasn't a very big island. I mean, it was bigger than me, obviously. It was way bigger than this park. I would say it was probably the size of like a good shopping mall or something like that. But that's pretty big for a little island that you just walk across to. And I guess if I had to go around the outside, it would probably take like 1.5 or 2 hours to walk around the outside. So maybe bigger than, but they had little microclimates. Like every beach looked different. And every little trail that you walk through, nobody was there for so long. The wild flowers and everything were like, just some of them were way above your head, and it was just like purples and oranges everywhere. It was just so vibrant, and even the videos are going to do no justice, but it was just absolutely mind-blowingly naturally beauty. It was just so freaking gorgeous. And that was one of the highlights, I think, of Scotland for sure. Scotland was strange too. If you ever get a chance, go to Edinburgh. And I didn't go to like the Loch Ness or anything like that. I didn't splurge on the money to go up there. It was like $120. But if you're going specifically to Scotland or a United Kingdom trip, I totally recommend it. I had some friends that I went with that totally said it was really sick. And really awesome, and just the Highlands of Scotland were just absolutely jaw-droppingly beautiful. But the island of Cramond is what I opted to do, and it cost me like $1.60. It was like it was $1.60 for the bus for there and back, so it was like 80 cents each way or something really cheap. But if you ever go to Scotland, I recommend, the other thing that I would recommend is go to it's called Mary King's Close, Colse, close, not like clothing, but close, like I closed the door. So, and the reason it was really cool was Mary Close, I guess, or Mary King's, I think her name was Mary King, and they have these things in Scotland called closes, and if I had to explain it, I would say it's just a really super creepy, narrow alleyway, and sometimes they have stairs. Like oh my gosh, there's this place. I'm going to talk about bad food for a second. There's this place, okay? There's this one specific close. So if you can imagine, like, you're watching an old movie of London or something like that, and you see this really narrow pocket, and then you can see a street down there or something, like another little light flickering or whatever, and you'll have like staircase, 100 stairs, and then they twist, and 100 stairs, and they twist, and 100 stairs, and then they twist, and 100 stairs. And at the top of this, I was actually at the bottom of this specific close that I'm talking about. And then you had to walk up like 500 stairs up this creepy thing that was just so freaking cool. Like just the idea, like if the lights went out, you would scream because you would think somebody was for sure going to murder you. It was so creepy, but cool and heavy. Like the feeling was heavy there. But at the top of it was this little doner kebab restaurant. I don't know if you guys know what doner kebab is, but basically it's like chicken or whatever. They have this big, huge thing that they cook meat on, and it just rotates around, and it has heat on one side, and it rotates, and they got this huge knife, and you see it a lot when you're traveling in Europe and stuff. And they shave off these pieces of chicken or doner or lamb, and lamb is going to be the best one. Oh my gosh, it's like mouth-watering. Like I can just remember, when on that specific trip, I hadn't started low carb or anything like that yet. I was exercising. I was probably the most fit, fat dude on that trip. I was smoking these guys on hiking trips, and some of them were in 100 times better looking shape than me. And you can see some of those pictures and stuff like that, and videos, but I still had a good 80 extra pounds on me and stuff like that. But this doner kebab restaurant was so freaking amazing. It was like $1.50 or $2, and they would just wrap it up, and it was like a tortilla with like all kinds of vegetables, and they had this garlic ranch sauce. Was just like, holy shit, it was so amazing. They put cucumbers and fresh tomatoes. I don't even like tomatoes, and they were so good. And we would get super, super trashed at the pub every night we were there, and then we would go, and it was basically like, everybody has that night out after place or whatever that they go to eat, and like in Arizona it would be Filiberto's, like a Mexican food restaurant or something like that, and it's like cheap burritos, greasy food or something like that. So we would go there every night, and it was just amazing. We get some chips, or I mean French fries, but they call French fries chips over there. And then they call chips crisps. Well, I'm sure you know that, Christine. It's kind of a weird thing, but kind of normal after you get to know it. And that's why they call fish and chips. I love when people call, and he's going to call back, I guarantee it. Watch, he's going to call back. My son's calling. I got stuff to talk about. Hopefully he doesn't call back. Let's see. I don't want to be interrupted again. But Mary King's Close was this tour, and I'm not usually super keen on like touristy stuff. I usually do one or two. I should do more of them, and most of them are only like 20-30 bucks. Usually the tours are cool. I don't like the weird stuff that has like what's it called? Like the Coca-Cola factory or the Guinness stuff or something like that. Something that's made up specifically for you to go check out. I'm not really cool with that. But like tours around the city to be able to familiarize with areas and stuff like that, I usually try to do a couple of those, or bike riding or something like that. But Mary King's Close is actually a really cool thing because in Edinburgh, Scotland, the plague was really, really bad. And don't mind me if I say religious things or whatever. This is world travelers. And I'm not saying my personal views, but they had the Crusades of Christ and stuff like that. And back then, like, the plague was going really bad. And apparently the Crusades of Christ came in and they were basically, taking over each place. And I don't know if they specifically went there or whatever, but it was around the same time. I got to get wasted the first night I went to England in Nottingham in a bar called Ye Old Trip to Jerusalem. And the bar was founded and had been open, and it's at the base of Nottingham Castle. This bar has not closed since 1066, which I thought was fucking amazing. And Richard, the Lionheart King, with the Crusades of Christ, came there in, I don't know what date, but I think it was like 1300 something or some shit like that. Came there and got drunk before they left for a crusade at that building. And it was actually inside of a cave, like tucked up under. It was like hardly any room on the inside of it, but it was just the coolest thing. I felt so bad because the ladies that worked there, it was such horrid conditions trying to duck under the pieces of cave and stuff like that. But it was really a cool place. But Mary King's Close, I guess when the plague came there and got really bad, the Edinburgh, the city officials and everything like that, the king decided to wall off the city, to put a giant wall around the city to try to keep the plague out. Because let's be honest, it's 1,000 years ago, you don't know what the fuck to do. You just panic and you start doing shit. So he tried to protect himself from the plague. It actually made it worse because the sanitary conditions, the level of sanitation just plummeted, and they couldn't get rid of waste and stuff like that. So it made everybody way more sick. So what they ended up doing in the middle of nights, they actually, Edinburgh now, current Edinburgh, Scotland, is, and it's, if you ever look it up, it's called Edinburgh, Edinburgh. It looks like Edinburgh, but it's Edinburgh. But Edinburgh now is actually a city on top of the original Edinburgh. And the reason for that is because Edinburgh was so riddled with plague. In the middle of the nights, they would start bricking in families that had been infected, and a lot of them were actually still alive. Now, the cool thing about Mary King's Close tour is they take you down there. They take you down to where this happened, to see the actual city, to see the actual houses where they had taken these bricks off and the bodies are in there and everything. It was fucking mind-blowing. I'm not a person that is like freaked out by ghosts or spirits or anything like that. I don't believe in that shit. But if there was ever a place or time that was closer to that feeling, like I'm getting goosebumps crawling up and down my arm right now. Like it was wicked. I was thinking I was seeing things down there. It was very dimly lit. I was feeling things. And, you know, they were trying to scare you and stuff like that, but it wasn't that. I was not that. It was the actual, just the vibe, the energy that I felt. Like, I was not scared by their inability to try to scare me. Like, that's bullshit. I'm not, this isn't like Halloween. Calm the fuck down. But it was just the actual, you were in that shit. Like, you were in the freaking spot. And it was massive. You were in a whole fucking city, hundreds and hundreds of rooms. And it literally looked like they had just spread concrete over the top of the whole city. And it was perfectly encapsulated in history. And it was just like insanely pristine. Like, it just made, yeah, and you could feel that nothing was fake. It was just, it was just, it was awesome. And it was so crazy because at a certain point, you couldn't enter because the original city down where you were at had, and the new city, they had put Edinburgh Capital, like the government building in one section of it, above the city. So you're not allowed to go to that part because apparently you could be of danger for terrorist attacks or anything like that. So that was kind of cool. That was probably between that and the island of Cramond. And that's not going to be something that you would necessarily Google. You could probably find it on like Google Earth pretty easily or something like that. But it was insane. That is something I would 100%. It's not one of those cheap, cheesy things, but it's called the Merry King's Clothes Tour. It was just, it made the feeling. Also, if you get a chance, I would say climb the, I think it's called the Scottish Monument. It's like something like 800 stairs or something like that. You actually get a certificate because most people freak out and come down. I made it all the way to the top, and it's just like this swirly thing, Scottish Monument, all the way up, and it's just like this really beautiful view of like all of Edinburgh. It's one of the highest points there. Also, if you get a chance in Edinburgh, and I'll probably put this on YouTube and try to bleep out if I cuss or anything like that, because I think it's important that I start sharing experiences when I do different things in different places, even if they're silly. You know, I think it can help some people out. Maybe I'll do a Scotland playlist. But the thing is, the other thing is Arthur's Seat. Arthur's, apparently, I don't know the whole history of it, but I think King Arthur, somebody had originally sat in this spot and dictated some type of war from this spot. And it's like a really pretty significant, like, it depends on how fast. I would say an average hike, it would be probably about 2 hours. I ran it in about 30 minutes and whooped everybody's ass and got up there. I'm the guy that always wants to be first at everything, so... but I got up there and we took a lot of pictures from up there. And I have pictures that you can see from me from up there. It's a beautiful, picturesque view. Way higher than the Scottish Monument. Previously, I said that was the highest. But this is actually like a natural way of getting above it. It's extremely... It probably depends on the day. But when we were up there, it was extremely windy. But very, very beautiful. Rolling grassy hills. Just really, really picturesque. Take your camera because you're going to love it up there. Take a jacket. It's probably going to be slightly chilly. But I fully suggest those three things. Island of Cramond, the Scottish Monument, Merry King's Clothes, and Arthur's Seat. Those are 4 things, John. I know I can add. Calm down. But... and then if you get a chance, go to the Highlands where Loch Ness Lake is and stuff like that. That's where the whole conspiracy theory started and stuff like that. Anyway, guys, I'm going to get going. I apologize for taking so long. I just felt like I don't even know what I was talking about now. This is what happens, man. Alright guys, this is Jonathan from One Big Impact. Today, I'm in Cramden. Kind of a weird name. There's some sailboats and stuff. We're near the Firth to Forth, which is really hard to say. It's like a channelway that opens up to the North Sea. We're just outside of Edinburgh, and I wanted to share 5 things with you today that I think the top spots when you go to Edinburgh are a good places to visit. Now, I do have a cheat sheet. I know, it kind of sucks. It's not as good as cue cards, but hey, it's just me out here, and I'm cramped for time, so I got to make sure I get it right. The first one actually that I visited was last night. It was actually called Mary King's Close. Now, what a lot of people don't realize, the plague was real heavy back then. The Black Plague had stricken the whole area. Edinburgh was actually a town that was completely walled in. It was a walled-in city. So they were the first skyscrapers to ever be seen pretty much anywhere in the world, which was really cool. They got up to, normally they're about 6 stories, but they got up to about 15 stories. But they give you a little bit of a history on, how they got to throw all the excrement out the window and stuff like that. Not only that, but like how people lived underground. It was a crazy existence. So if you get a chance, I'm not sure how much it was. Our trip advisor paid for it. I think it was like probably around 20 bucks, 10, 20 bucks, something like that, or pounds. But totally worth it. You go underground and you get to see, and Edinburgh is actually a city on top of a city, which is really nice because you don't have to, just everywhere you go there's really cool alleyways and stuff like that. It's just amazing. And it's gonna freaking blow your mind, to be completely honest. They're gonna take you underground, and when they rebuilt the city, they just started fresh, knocked down a couple walls, started fresh, and there's a complete city underneath the ground, which is really cool. Sorry about that. Plane's not always the best atmosphere here. So, I mean, the atmosphere is great, but the conditions aren't that great. Next, Holyrood Palace. If you get a chance, check it out. There's a lot of stuff that has actually happened there. Just a few years ago, the Pope and the Queen met there, Benedict, and that's pretty intense. And they still use those grounds today. I believe the granddaughter of the Queen was actually just married, and she had her ceremony and stuff in the Holyrood Palace. Also, next, I would say number 3, I did this yesterday too. I had a jam-packed day, and it was friggin' hard. Yesterday we did the Scott Monument. Me and my buddy Damien did the Scott Monument. And it's, I believe, 297 steps. If you don't have a lot of energy, just don't do it. Don't put yourself in the position to where, you're gonna end up screwed later on, because it's if you're gonna try to pack too much in one day. We did that, and then we did something right after, and we really lacked on energy afterwards. So you go up, it's a terrace staircase about this big, and you're fighting, trying to go up with people, and you can't get by people and stuff like that. It is a freaking blast, don't get me wrong. It is one of the highest points that you're gonna be able to see of the complete Edinburgh area. So the views, the selfies, the selfie sticks, the GoPros, bring them with you because it's going to be amazing. Next, obviously, where I'm at, Cramden Beach. I'm going to give you a view of kind of this area and stuff. They do have an airport nearby, so I apologize because you're going to hear airplanes going by and stuff like that. But it really doesn't get more serene like this. And I get kind of choked up just thinking about it because I'm from Arizona. We don't have views like this. And you got to remember these things are possible. Not only for you, but your family members, your kids. Stop putting limits on things because you're going to be able to do it, and it's not a big deal. Just start saving, start worrying about, what matters to you in your future. I don't care if it's a car, whatever it is. Just get your butt out there and freaking do it. If it's traveling, start saving. Because you know what? Wait until you retire. You might not live till you retire. Now, I'm not saying quit your job and go do something stupid. Sorry, we got the plane again. But start paying attention to doing these things when you're young. I'll tell you, I'm 34 years old, and I'm pretty active,
And this stuff's hard. There's a lot of walking and stuff. If you wait till you're 50, 60, 70 years old, it's not going to be very possible. So start worrying about it now. You can do it, and I know you can. Next one. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to add another one. I'm sorry, guys. Edinburgh Castle. Fortified castle. Not any just regular old castle. A lot of the castles that I've been seeing have been, let's say, changed to have a modern effect, whether it be that they had to turn it into a museum, or in the 1700s they turned it into a prison, like a Victorian prison. Lincoln was like that and stuff. And a lot of these places are difficult to grasp until you're here and you're like, wow, that's not really what I expected. But you have to think about it. These companies, like whether it be the natural or the National Trust or whatever it may be, they have to evolve to stay alive. Like Chatsworth and stuff like that. These places have to evolve. Edinburgh Castle is not really like that. They have preserved like pretty much 100% of this place. And it's fortified. It's got cannons. It's got the Moss, which is like a 6-ton cannon in the 16 or 1400s or something like that. It was actually the biggest cannon ever made. It was made in Switzerland. I'm kind of lost on my history. I apologize, guys. But I can put links below if you guys check that stuff out. So definitely Edinburgh Castle. And it's not one of those castles that you go to and it's like, oh, okay, we had one attraction. I just paid $20 for nothing. No. Should have put in a better spot without any airplanes. Sorry. It's one of those castles. It's going to take... Now, if you're going to do Edinburgh Castle, do it in the morning, get it over with, and if you still have energy, go do something else, because it's got dungeons, it's got war museums, it's got guns. Oh, every day at 1 p.m. they fire a full-on cannon. Like, it's a new, more modern looking cannon, but it's definitely freaking awesome. Like, they fire right off into the sea, and you're talking like, that sucker's loud. But anyway, I think they do it for a visual effect, they said, as the boats are coming in, as well as like a chime. So it's an audio-visual effect, which is kind of cool, you know. It actually has a purpose. And then that was supposed to be number one, but I'm going to pop you a real number one here. Now, this was in Edinburgh, and Arthur's Seat was the most amazing thing I've probably ever experienced as far as like a hiking thing. Now, if you're not fit, we got about 15 of us students here, and about 6 of us went. All 6 of us made it, but there was a couple, not sure if they were going to make it or not. We did make it. We're all pretty young. I'm by far the oldest one on this trip, but if you can, get your exercise in, get cardio in and stuff. I mean, you can pretty much make it no matter what if you go slow. If you push it though, you're gonna get up to a false summit, which is, I guess, about 600 feet up, and don't let that fool you, because that is gonna take you about 45 minutes to an hour to get to that first false summit. Once you get up to the very top, the air's thin. You're gonna get a massive blowing. You're gonna have a nice. Alright guys, so yeah, basically Arthur's Seat's going to be amazing. I apologize. The end of my video, for some freaking reason, of course, matters happen, and it got erased. So yeah, basically you're going to get a 360-degree view on everything that Edinburgh, Scotland has to offer. And you're going to be able to see Fife from there. You're going to be able to see the Cramden Island. You're going to be able to see the Firth of Forth there. You're going to be able to see some really cool freaking stuff. So seriously, if you like our videos, please, as always, click the like button below, right down there. Don't click the unlike button, because you know what? That's really freaking mean, and it's not very nice. And I don't do it to your videos, so why would you do it to mine? I don't know. Regardless, if you like our videos, subscribe, comment, share our videos with other people, and get out there and enjoy the world. And always spread love, never hate, guys. Thanks.